Hi, Rhonda. It's Vicky. Can you see my screen?
Hey, Vicki, yes, I can see it.
Okay. Did you hear music just a minute ago when I started it and stopped it?
I did, yep.
Okay, good. Yay, it's working this time. Yay.
Yeah. And I'm recording, so
You already started?
I've already started.
Okay. Do you know if Wayne's going to be on?
Don't. I have not talked with him today, so I don't really know.
Okay, he's supposed to be because he's got a part, and Miss Susan Boatwright too.
I was going to say, I'm sure Susan will be here, but
Right.
and I see Janice is here. Hey, Janice.
Hey there.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start the music while everybody's hopping on. I'm trying to turn my camera on. There we go. Well, it's time to start. I hope everybody's having a good first Wednesday of March. Happy Hump Day. Hope you're having a good day so far. Welcome to our March Legislative Committee meeting. I appreciate you being here with us. So we will be updating. I'm going to go ahead and move the screen to our agenda. I see Wayne is on. Has Susan joined us yet?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started, and hopefully by the time it's her turn, she'll be able to hop on. So again, thank you so much. So we're going to start off with Mr. Wayne Drummond. He's got some updates for us regarding our SharePoint and our administrative salary study and our future meetings. So hello, Wayne. How are you today?
Doing great, thank you. I hope everyone is well. Just regarding the SharePoint group, mainly wanted to have an opportunity to hear from folks who are using the site as to how it's working on your end. I've been very pleased with the organization of our advocacy effort, everyone's cooperation with giving excellent reviews of what's out there and updating them on the site, but mainly wanted to hear from the other end of the perspective from a user vantage point, if you're having any issues, concerns, questions, or things we can do to help.
Okay, so we have Danny Knuckles, Jonathan Sloan, Gretchen Cleveland, Janedra Jackson. Those are some of our reviewers. Do you guys have any feedback on the simplicity or the ease or the struggles or anything regarding when Wayne sends out a review? Do you have trouble getting on the site? Is it easy to use? Can you have any feedback for us?
Hey, this is Gretchen, and I'm driving, so I'm not going to be able to. I pulled over, not turn my. I mean, I'm driving. I need to pull over, but I just wanted to real quick because I haven't accessed it to review as much as Danny and Jonathan have. But what I did review was very easy. I thought maybe I was missing something because it was so easy. The links take you right to where you need to go, and then you can maneuver once you get there to see the current version, old version, etc. So I really enjoyed being able to put it in there, and then that was it. So I think it's very simple, very easy to access, and a good way to maintain the information.
Great, thank you.
And I agree, works great.
Good.
Thank you.
I'll shift gears then. If you have any feedback, always feel free to drop an email, call, or whatever, but I'm happy to help. I've been, again, this has been a very exciting year in terms of our increased capacity to add value to our legislative reviews. Regarding the administrative salary update, I did make a pretty good dent in that this past week. There are two major reports in there, one compiled by Vicki and one compiled by Darby Hickson. And I started on the one that Darby has. And basically, we've got administrative salary listings from about all of our neighboring states, including Georgia. And I've gone back to reformat those and trying to group them up by training and education experience as a way of sorting and comparing the sites, and began to do some further analysis. This has been my commitment is to devote at least an hour a day to this until it's done, and we'll have it done before the next meeting. It's very good quality information, and I think it'll give us a good opportunity to bring this longstanding open issue to some closure. After completing what Darby has done, I'll dig into the work that Vicki has done with a similar intent. Alabama has about 20 different jobs listed on their side alone. So you multiply that times 7 or 8 states. It's it needs to be broken down into better bite-sized bits in order to understand what works on a comparative basis. So that really is about the extent of my report at this point. In terms of future meetings, we really want to, we'll be having a board meeting scheduled. I don't have the date in front of me, but there should have been a reminder that was sent out to everyone at the end of March. We have a meeting scheduled to talk about the annual conference with Mary Havoc in mid-month. Angie and I will be speaking with her about the prospects for the annual conference. We felt like it was, if we're going to have a conference, regardless of the format, whether it's hybrid, virtual, or in person, we need to have some understanding of the lay of the land from the division about willingness to support the conference and what type. I don't anticipate any firm answers now, but I think some testing of the waters as to how things are looking from the state perspective will be important to us. I was very encouraged earlier when we had some assurances that we would all have a vaccine who are adults by July. That moving that up to May seems to greatly enhance the prospects of our having an in-person conference for this year. The governor has been really insistent that the state reopen as soon as it can be safely done. So I'm hopeful that this will be a good opportunity for us to get some guidance and initiate planning, but wanted to start that with that discussion that will be occurring mid-month, and we'll give an update on that. So that's really what we have in terms of future meetings on the horizon. I really hope that we'll have an opportunity to get back to business as normal and to be sort of on the front edge of that as it relates to having the opportunity for learning and networking experiences in person.
Right. Thank you, Wayne. And the board meeting has been, the save the dates are March the 30th and 31st. There'll be more information to come. And back to the SharePoint, if you're not able to get on the SharePoint, there's a ton of information there as far as the summary, the legislative summary on each bill, whether it's the House or the Senate, the bills, what they're about and where they are in the process. So please, when you get a chance, go check it out and cruise around. PowerPoints are in there, a lot of different things. So if you can't access it, let us know, or maybe it's something we should put on the GPHSA website, maybe a link to it for the legislative committee. We can talk about that. But all right, Wayne, thank you so much. And Miss Boatright, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are
Happy
y'all?
Wednesday. We're great. We're great.
Wednesday,
It's sun shining, so you know that it's always a good thing when it's sun shining.
Absolutely. So sorry I was late logging on. I had a little technical difficulty, but it's all worked out now. I think I missed a couple of, well, no, we've gone through all the checks. Okay, so this is what I have and how I have sorted through this. If y'all want to do it in a different way, you just need to let me know. But I am in communication with DFACS and DHS on what they specifically are tracking. And those items are mostly things that would impact our policy or practice. Many of those things we also have given our opinion on, and it's put in the SharePoint when one of you reads it and shares your thoughts on whether we would support or not support. And so far, we have been consistent with the readers for DFACS on the same bills. So I just try to keep an eye out for that to see if there's any place where we may have a difference of opinion. So separate from those bills, and they're listed in our SharePoint, I have been trying to keep an eye on some that are more life related to all employees versus policy. Okay, does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So this is what I am looking at, and keeping in mind that crossover day is Monday. So crossover day meaning, you know, if it's from whichever entity it was introduced, it has to be passed out of in order to make it through the remainder of session and have a chance at actually becoming law. And so in looking at the 5 things that I'm trying to just keep my eye on, I think one can be eliminated. I want Wayne to jump in if he thinks my judgment on this is not correct, but there was one that we were kind of watching just to make sure it did not really move forward. It was the one that removed the sovereign immunity from state employees and would allow them to be sued for damages. That for as long as I worked for the state, we had that protection. It does not look like that bill is going anywhere. It has not moved at all. I don't think there's any chance it is going to make it past crossover. This was in January that this bill was first introduced, and it just hasn't moved since January. So that's my opinion. We don't need to worry about House Bill number 69. The 2 bills that are definitely going to make it past crossover into consideration is the House Bill 146, which is to provide paid parental leave for eligible state employees. It's already passed. The Senate has been referred to Health and Human Services. And I put this in a report so you'll have it in writing as well. But I think we'll see that legislation on past Monday. I think we will also see Senate Bill 32, which is we are in support of both of these. The Senate Bill 32 expands the information that is protected and is not required to be released about state employees. So that is something we would also be in favor of. The bill that we have been wanting but trying to definitely work in tandem with DFAC's legislative is House Bill 562. Last year, that was House Bill 555. And it would add DFAC's case managers to the list of public service employees who would require an evidentiary hearing before an arrest warrant could be issued, basically meaning that someone who's not happy with the case manager can't go to magistrate court and take out an arrest warrant. It would require a hearing, and this is not asking a great deal. It basically is adding DFAC's case managers to the list already given that right. Here's the little caveat. 2 things. One, we really want that to say DFAC's employees and not just case managers. I am told that Chris Hempling and Kevin Harris have introduced that small edit, that it should not be a big deal at all, but I don't have confirmation of that. Also have an offer from Voices to put some pressure on moving this bill along. It was just introduced, so it's not worrisome like that other one that hasn't moved since January that it may not get any movement. It's just it was introduced late, and we are running out of time, for lack of a different way to say it. So I was going to sit on it another day and then check in with Chris and Kevin and say we have an offer to, just have some encouragement to let's move this bill along. We want this. So that's what's going on with that one. The other one that we are keeping an eye on, there were a couple that are related to retirees. Senate Bill 167 came up this morning at 11, but I can't find any information about it. Wayne, do you know anything about it? I was looking right before we got on this call. I did go back and listen to the hearing yesterday that sorted through who can be on the ERS board. And that was a win for us. That is not Senate Bill 167, but they did approve the legislation that would allow constituent groups such as GSRA, to which GPHSA fully supports, to make recommendations for 3 of the 7 board placements. I think that's right, a little less than 50%. That's good news because, of course, that gives representation from constituents, gives a larger representation from constituents on the ERS board. There was also a recommendation to tweak around with the risk level of investment for the retirement funds. And that was struck out for ERS yesterday. Some municipal retirement systems are going to go that route, but most people surveyed were in favor of being more conservative in the investments and less risky. So you say, okay, well, that is really in the weeds, and it is, but on my read, the importance of what happened yesterday is we get closer and closer with the retirement committee to being seen somewhat synonymous with teachers' retirement system. That's the overarching message, is we don't want to be considered separate from them. And that leads us up to the bill we are monitoring, which is Senate Bill 167, which removes the language that prohibits a COLA increase. It actually goes one step further than removing the language and mandates that the same COLA increase be awarded to all state employees managed by ERS and not just teachers' retirement. So what happened yesterday about board approvals is super important to try to get that worked out. And it also began this conversation of why are ERS employees treated differently than TRS employees? And that really is the position I think that we want to be in. And so that came up for vote today. I don't know what has happened with that, but we are tracking that. So I just, told you a bunch of stuff that has no resolution, but it's in the works. And it sounds like it's positive in what we would want for our employees. Wayne, clear up anything that 50% of what I just told y'all is correct.
Susan, I have a question.
I go much closer to 100%. I think a couple of things. The retiree board has the legal authority to set what's it's called the ADEC, which is a defined contribution that's required by the employer to grant increases. They have been reluctant to do that and saying that they do not have the funding to do it. Senate Bill 167 sets some thresholds that if the state's doing well, that they will give us retiree raises automatically. But having that additional influence on the board is very important. I think this has been a long struggle, including with all investments going back now 15 years. But the good news is that we've been in constant partnership with the Retirees Association, legislative reception, and in monthly meetings and coordinating activities. They deserve the credit for moving these bills and getting them introduced. We've been evolved into a good and faithful cheerleader and supporter of those efforts because they benefit our membership directly. So that's an excellent report, Susan. It's very encouraging to see this progress. I'm frankly surprised that 167 was going to be brought in committee because there are a lot of bills that are introduced from the minority party that do not make it even to the point of a hearing. But this was on the agenda for hearing today, and there's a lot of optimism that they have support from the Senate retiree chair. So we'll see how that goes, but all in all, it's very, very encouraging.
Susan, I had a question.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why Chris and Kevin wanted to add DFACS employees to the to the bill, 562?
They wanted to edit from case manager to employees so that we wouldn't get into, it's my understanding, to get into splitting hairs over who actually was protected, and it would be a blanket addition.
Okay.
So a supervisor would be covered too.
Yes, a supervisor would be covered, or administrator, or and I think some of that is because we do have various people carrying caseloads at times and going out on cases.
Okay. Well, and I asked that because I saw Casey Carpenter, the I guess co-author of the bill Friday night, and
Yeah.
He looked tired, and you know, and I just said hello or whatever, and he said, I've been working on your stuff. He said we've had a couple of things come up, you know, and so I didn't know. You know, it's a long week. I didn't want to perceive anything or whatever, but he looked tired, so I didn't know if it was that bill or other things, and I didn't. You know, it was at a ball game, so I didn't. He didn't volunteer anything else, and so I was just curious about that. If it was something that maybe I needed to reach back out with him on and clarify or whatever.
You know, I don't think there'll be anything wrong at all if you share the opinion that it should extend, for the reasons we talked about, to all state employees. If you as a person wanted to express that, because you know him, that would be very helpful. From what I'm a little bit surprised there's been no more movement on this, but I'm new to this to some degree, so this just may be the way it
Well, I know he
goes.
was frustrated last year because it got stuck, and I think there was just, you know, some tweaks last year, and then there's some tweaks this year, and I don't know. Of course, I don't want to read into it at all. That's, you know, okay, here we're tweaking it again, and it's going to get stuck again, you know, kind of deal.
Oh, well,
In truth, it was to protect case managers. I mean, that was the truth, and so your example that you gave with Chris and Kevin, you know, why not throw it in there? We can cover everybody. I get it.
and they did not feel like it would require anything other than a simple edit. I definitely got the impression that they would not want to do anything that would set it back if they felt like they could just, without an amendment really or anything, just an edit to that language. Otherwise, I think they will let it go as is because of exactly what you just said, is that we want this. And so you know, maybe sit on that for a minute. Let me see if I can get a little bit of information if we're having any trouble with it, because I was going to do that anyway to see if we needed to call in any people to help move it along. And because what we were told before session was that there was so much support for this, we weren't expecting any pushback. It just seems to kind of get pushed to the side as less urgent than some other things.
More pressing issues.
Yeah, but eventually, I mean, it is super pressing. If it's, you know, what I said was it feeds to, it's unnecessary stress for an already stressful job. And once something like that occurs, it takes on a life of its own and can spread amongst the case managers and really impact, you know, our turnover and that sort of thing. Why would someone want, you know, to work somewhere that they don't have that sort of protections? Now, was that being a bit of a drama queen? Maybe. But the point is, it could happen. And so let me get back with you on that.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Ms. Boatwright? Keith, you have a question? Okay. Thank you so much. That was a great update. So next we'll move on to our questions, comment, feedback. If anyone has anything they would like to share, talk about, discuss, the lines are open.
I'll just say that I do appreciate, Susan, your report out, and actually makes me want to, I need to look up ERS and TRS and all that. I've not really done a lot of research on that, but I think that's extremely helpful, you know, understanding how that works. So thank you.
You are welcome. And I have learned a little myself. ERS is, I kind of view it now sort of as a board. And certainly it's the whole system, but it seems like, and Wayne, again, jump in here because I am learning, but the GSRA is sort of like GPHSA. It's made up of constituents. And to me, that's just so important to have that voice at the table and on the board for things like this. Another thing Wayne pointed out to me, and I definitely observed this when I was watching the hearing from yesterday, we have a lot of new people on the retirement committee, maybe not a lot, a few. I don't think they're aware that the two systems are treated differently at all. I think that's news to them. And so what I liked from yesterday is it brought up that issue. And if we can reinforce that, they were so confused between the new people, ERS, TRS, the municipal retirement system, who is GSRA. And I felt like that, again, was a good sign because basically our message is we shouldn't be separate. The municipal group is definitely separate, but a state employee who is retired, that should be consistent. And I felt like some progress was made toward driving home that point yesterday.
Is there anything that we can do as constituents to support or to let our voices be known that, you know, we share that, we support that, we need to be equal across the board. If we're a state employee, we need to all be treated as one and not different levels of how it's handled. Is there a way that we can support that vocally or through emails or?
Go ahead, Wayne.
Certainly, we all have the right as individuals to express our opinions to our legislators on our own time and on equipment. That generally, in terms of a call to action, which is a more broader form of communication from us. That is a tool in the toolbox that we tend to use very sparingly. And Rhonda's working on compiling a home email list in anticipation of the need for a call to action, particularly on this issue. We normally have tried to walk in lockstep with the Retirees Association. It's always appropriate to reach out to your legislator with any concern. I will say this, that it might be good to look for your legislator and both in the House and Senate. And if they're on the retiree committee, it's much more important that you reach out. So much work and leadership is done in deference to the committees. There's a general lack of understanding in the General Assembly because their turnover rate is probably is higher than ours. And it's a constant struggle to continually re-educate. So if individuals want to take action, certainly that's always encouraged with the caveats that Susan always puts out in her reports. If you look at your legislators and see that they're on the retiree committee, it is doubly important to do that. But in terms of a larger call to action, it's usually a tool that we use more sparingly. And so we're sort of preparing for that for a number of possibilities that we usually do one or two per session and ask all members to consider writing and reaching out.
Okay,
And
thank you.
I'll add to that, Wayne, that you don't have to be a retiree to join the GSRA as well.
That's an excellent point. They have basically they have 5,000 members. The other advantage that they have is that many of the leaders in that association were in place when all of these systems were designed. They're former agency department heads. They're very astute, very articulate, and the issues are very complex. When we started with things like alternative investments and whether or not we needed to be investing your retirement money in mezzanines and leveraged buyouts and it's other kinds of instruments like that that have higher risk. My DFACS career did not really prepare me to address the advantages of those or disadvantages of those kinds of investments. We've worked very closely with them over a period of time, and it's many of our members are members of each association, both as our retirees and our active members, and it expands our voice. So I think that's an excellent point, and it's a way, particularly if you're invested in our system and invested in your future, it's a good way to invest a small amount of resources on an annual basis to expand that voice and influence.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have anything?
I forgot to mention, this is completely unrelated to our work, but just as a human being living in Georgia, you know, this support to go to one time standard time versus daylight savings time. I didn't know that was even up, but it seems to have a lot of support. So I'm trying to kind of watch what's happening there. Clearly, it will be with us for the rest of the session, but it looks like there's some support there. For
Do you know the
standard,
bill number?
it is SB 12, and standard time is. I had to look this up too. Standard time is the one we're in. The one we would move to March 8th would be daylight savings, and so of course we'll move to that. Is it this weekend?
It's
Yeah, I guess
is it?
It's called
It's
springing
next
forward.
week. It's
It's
next week.
It's
March the
next
14th.
weekend, not this coming weekend.
Yes, the
but
next weekend.
Okay, so we would do that, of course, and then I guess once we moved back, or they would move us back in July if that goes through. Again, this is just interesting because
Of all the things.
of yeah. So didn't want to leave that out.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
Vicki, I added a link to the chat. Susan mentioned voices, and for those who haven't signed up for their email newsletter, there's a link up in the chat. It's just another resource of keeping up with things.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah, I don't have that.
Their email divides it out by category, like protection of children and that sort of thing. And then you can also do it by organization. And the bill, you just click on the highlight, it's right there. It's a wealth of information.
Great. Thank you so much.
The Barton Clinic is also a very good source of analysis for issues related to child welfare. I don't have a link for you, but you can Google Barton Clinic and subscribe to their updates as well. It's good to have other folks looking at all of this information, and those are both excellent resources.
Are you saying Barton, like B as in boy, or M as in or Martin? Barton. B-A-R-T-O-N, or yes? Okay. Susan's like, yeah.
Barton, B-A-R-T-O-N.
Okay. Barton Clinic.
Yes.
.org.
I'm not certain about that,
Okay.
but they're affiliated with the Emory University. It's a clinic that is funded to advance child welfare issues and funded primarily by some very generous and rich donors, including Michelle Barclay, at least in terms of the inception of the clinic.
Okay.
I just
Jonathan's
added,
put up a link for you. Thank you, John.
it's
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
.net.
wonderful.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And the meeting's being recorded, so any members that missed it, that'll be recorded and they'll have that. They can go back and watch it. So anything else? Well, this has been a very informative meeting. Thank you, Susan, for bringing us up to speed on everything. We're done in just almost, 30 minutes. So 34 minutes. So that's good. We covered a lot of ground. So thank you again for taking time out of your very busy schedules. We know that this is very, very important to what we do and how we live and work and for our families. So thank you all for what you do and what you contribute to this team. You got something? Go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking, so the session will end I think it's the last day or the next last day of March. And so we'll kind of know what we'll have by then. We'll just cover that at our April regularly scheduled meeting? Is that the plan? Okay, I just wanted to be sure. All right.
I'll put that on the agenda and just do a session wrap-up update.
Susan, if you could bring lunch too, that would help.
Absolutely. I'll have it delivered to your homes. Y'all just send me your addresses.
Right. Please put it all in the chat. Everybody put your addresses in the chat box now. I'm just
Doing so now.
We'll have Uber Eats.
Uber Eats. Susan, you're gonna die when you get this big, massive bill for like 40 meals that's been delivered. That's funny, all over the counties. But again, thank you all for what you do. It's so important, and we appreciate your time. And if everything goes according to plan, we will gather again on April the. Let me turn my calendar over. April the 7th will be our next meeting. It's the first week in April, or the first Wednesday in April. So thank you again. And I hope you have a great rest of your day and rest of your week.
Before we leave, there are a couple of questions in chat regarding why DFACS folks are not notified when a colleague has COVID. I don't think we're in a position to answer that. I think it's an internal decision to the department, and a question that probably ties back to things like HIPAA requirements and other forms of privacy that are personnel matters. So I would encourage you to pursue an answer to that internally, either to ask your director or supervisor for that information. It's not an answer where we can give definitive guidance.
You are correct. It's HIPAA.
Okay, well, I'm always happy to speculate, but my speculator is increasingly defective. But I didn't want to acknowledge.
You're right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And I was going to say that was HIPAA too. Thank you, Danny.
Okay, well, it's again, I think I didn't want to let that concern that was expressed go unaddressed.
Thank you. I wasn't able to see the chat. I've got all these screens going because I'm sharing. And so I thank you for manning that. Was there another question?
No, this is Gretchen. I just had a comment. So the next meeting is going to be the first Wednesday in April. So I don't know about other counties or whatever, but a lot of the areas here are on spring break. So I just wanted to make sure that it would still be good to meet if a lot of people were still going to be available, because I'm not necessarily sure if I am.
I say let's keep it on this first Wednesday so we all
Okay, that's fine. And if she's recording it, that'll be just fine. Okay. I just wanted to put that out there though.
You can call in from the beach.
I won't be at the beach, thank you, but okay.
All right, Ms. Gretchen, anything else before we close it out?
No, great meeting. No, and thank you, Susan, as always, and Wayne, Vicki, thanks. I don't have anything.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you again, and have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you in April.
Bye, y'all.
Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.